Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Ferny. So sorry I wasn't able to do a Ask Ferny last week, but I've been having some work done on the house, and so the house is a complete mess. I'm like in a completely different angle and position that I normally would be in, but as we had to take the kitchen stuff and take it out of the back room and take it out of the kitchen and shove it all into the living room because the kitchen's being redone. So a lot of stuff here and there. But now I'm like, okay, I think I can do an Ask Ferny session today. So welcome, guys. I'm happy to see everybody. Hello. I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes to get in and get comfortable and so forth. Let's see. Hi, Sherry. Hi. How are you? That's good. That's good. Let's see. I've got one from Betty. Hi, Betty. Hi. How are you? Good, good, good. All right. So, so today's topic, and if you guys want to ask me a question in a little while, I will give you a chance to ask a question, and I'll go ahead and respond and give you an answer. And you can ask me about anything. You can ask me about spirituality. You can ask me about like intuition, how to develop your own intuition and your own abilities. You can also ask me about your life if you want to know about a specific situation that you're dealing with in your life and you want me to kind of tune in and tell you what I get. You can go ahead and ask that as well. Be specific. No general questions because that can take us anywhere. We want to save time. So be specific about your questions. If you're going to ask about any other individual or person, be mindful, be aware that your comments are being made public, so you don't want to put anything out there that you don't want other people, including family members and so forth, to see. So just be mindful and be specific about your questions, okay? And just remember also, I am not a licensed medical doctor, counselor, attorney, or law enforcement official. So if you need any information or any help from those types of individuals, then you ask those people for some help. I'm giving you just my personal opinion and guidance, and hopefully that is enough to help you with your life, anything you want to know about, okay? So, so today's topic, what did I want to talk about? I think I had a really good topic earlier that I was talking about. Oh yeah, being awakened, or what are the signs or symptoms when you feel like you're waking up or you're becoming awakened or enlightened. And I'm actually going to do a video about this topic in a few weeks. Probably actually this week I'm going to do a video about that. Like the 5 signs or the 3 signs that you can look for when you are awakening to your spiritual self. Okay. It really depends on the individual. I will tell you a story about myself, right? How I became awakened. Many years ago, back when I was a teenager, I was just coming into terms with my own sexuality. For some of you who don't know, I am gay. And back then it wasn't an easy thing. Well, still isn't an easy thing to kind of acknowledge and embrace yourself, especially when you're the one that has to embrace it, to acknowledge it. And so I was coming to terms with my own sexuality. And I remember one day I think I was watching the Montel show. And what was interesting is he was having a guest on there. Her name was Sylvia Brown. Some of you may know who Sylvia Brown is. And I know a lot of people have different opinions about Sylvia Brown and whether she was real or she was a fraud or whatever. But I found her words very inspirational. And what she had mentioned is that people who were gay, sometimes they are born with these tendencies because they've lived several lifetimes as a female, and then they come into this lifetime and then all of a sudden they're in a male's body, so they kind of relate to that female perspective. Or because we come into life with plans for ourselves. So some of us choose to come in with this trait or with this perspective to help us understand that perspective, to help us use that opportunity to grow through challenges and so forth. So on a human level, I don't feel like I chose my sexuality. My sexuality chose me. I mean, when you're attracted to whatever you're attracted to, that is what it is, right? And so we're not really taught what to be attracted to. We just are naturally attracted to whatever we're attracted to. But on a spiritual level, I believe that we choose some of the challenges and some of the traits and some of the unique perspectives that we come in through. That includes race, that includes gender, that includes all of those details. So back then, I didn't know any of this, right? This is before, Ferny, spiritual Ferny, right? This is just Fernando back in the day. So I was watching the show and she had mentioned that, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting that she would mention that. And so I used to go jogging with one of my cousins, and we were jogging around the park, and I always looked up to her. I always thought, she was just a very intelligent person. She was very open-minded. She seemed very open-minded. And I just really looked up to her. So I remember jogging around the park with her, and I had asked her, I said, do you believe, and this was after I'd come out to her. She's one of the few people that I came out to at that time. So not a lot of people knew that I was gay. I mean, I'm sure they suspected, but not a lot of people had that validation, or I didn't validate that for them. So we were jogging, and I mentioned it to her. I said, I was watching this show and I read this book, and it's this idea that some people who are gay, that they come in because they've lived several lifetimes as a female or several lifetimes as a male, and then they're in the body that they're not familiar with, and of course they've got the tendencies to be attracted to whatever is natural for them on a spiritual, on a personality level. And the response that I got was not the response I was expecting. And the response that I got was, well, I don't think so. She told me she didn't think so, that she thought I was just reaching or grasping for anything that was going to make me feel better about my decision, right? Or about my chosen lifestyle, because it wasn't something that, was okay in books like the Bible. It wasn't okay. And we were we're all a Catholic family. Wasn't okay. So she just said I was reaching for something just to make myself feel better, but that's not the way it was. And so it shot me down to nothing. It made me feel like I'm just this horrible person, and there's no validity to the way I feel, to the way that I am thinking and feeling about others. And so I struggled with this internally, because at that moment, and this carried on for several days after, I realized that I either had to embrace and accept my religious structure, my religious foundation wholeheartedly, or I was going to find answers for myself. And I made the decision that I was going to find answers for myself, because I was not going to accept that I'm a horrible person. I was not going to accept that me feeling feeling empathy for other people, feeling the things that I felt. I am a human being, and I'm not going to accept that I'm a horrible, evil person just because I feel attracted to a certain type of person or individual or sex. So I just refuted my religious beliefs at that time, and I decided I was going to find my own way. And so that led to me essentially becoming open and receptive and asking life, asking the universe, asking God for guidance, for information that would help me understand why do these things happen? Why are things this way? And in that and just the asking of that is when I awoke. That's when I became awakened, and I began to find my spiritual self. So many people have different variations of their own stories as far as how they've become awakened and what they've done in their lives, or what they've experienced to allow them to get to that point. But I mean, really, when it comes to becoming awakened, a lot of people ask me, how do I know I'm awakened? You'll know you're awakened when you ask the questions, when you ask, why am I here? What am I here for? And even though we have religious beliefs or religious faiths that help to explain some of that, they don't always provide us with all the answers and information we need to feel satisfied, to feel as if this is, and it comes down to the resonance within yourself. When you hear something, when you hear a piece of information, an idea that is just very different from how you were raised or what you were raised to believe in, when it resonates within you, you just feel it inside your center. There's something about that, or this sounds familiar. There's a familiarity there. And at that point, you realize that there's way more than you're aware of, and then you begin to wonder and ponder and ask for more. And that's what it means to be awakened. It just simply means to realize that we are more than our physical bodies. We are more than the skin on our bones. We are more than than the thoughts we have. We are more than these things. There's more to us than that. And we desire to know that. We desire to reach the depths of that. We desire to connect with the highest form of ourselves. And that's just being awakened. It's the desire to know and to be more, because you understand that you are more. You just don't quite have all the pieces together. So that's what being awakened means. And if you've ever felt that way, if you've ever felt dissatisfied with some of the beliefs that you've been raised in, if you've ever felt a need to ask questions because culture, human society just does not really give you enough of an answer to explain things, then that means being awakened. You're asking those questions. So I mean, if you find yourself awakened, I would tell you this: you go through a period where you're like just obsessed with finding answers, and you'll find yourself reading every single thing you can read, or like, doing everything you can to find answers. And you may even go through a period where you get a little confused because you're reading information that conflicts itself, and something within you connects with one piece of information, and something of you connects with another piece of information. And what I would say is hold your own judgment. Just because you read something, just because Ferny is saying such and such doesn't make it true. It has to resonate within you. And that's something that I learned over the years. If you're going to study and look for answers, if you're going to study other, religious teachers or spiritual inspirational leaders, if you're going to follow, read all these books and so forth, hold your own judgment. What resonates for you, then that's your truth. That is your truth. And no one has the right to tell you what your truth is. Okay? So you determine what your truth is. And that truth may change and develop over time, but just hold to your truth and just use that and work with that and keep that until you no longer need that, or until it expands beyond that and it becomes more. But you don't have to believe every single thing that people say just because they are, a spiritual guru, or because they act like they know everything or they know more. And, you've got a lot of these people who are very religious, who they absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt every single thing, but yet they don't really practice what it is that they believe in. They just say it because it's their way of trying to keep order and maintain comfort with something, because they're too afraid to ask those questions. And I feel for people who use religion as a weapon, using religion as a weapon to cast judgment, to control others, to manipulate, and to, using that fear. That is just the symptom of an individual who is too afraid to ask the question beyond that information. To ask those questions, they're too afraid to step outside of that box. And so in order for them to maintain order and to keep things in that box that they're familiar with, that sense of comfort, they will try to hold everybody else to that box as well. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. Not everybody follows some of the philosophies or beliefs that I go through, or that I aspire to. Vice versa, you might meet people like that as well. But just, what you connect with, what you resonate with, use it. And then in time, that may change and you might grow beyond that. So, all right, guys. So you ready for some questions? Okay. So you can ask me, like I said, if you want to ask me about any spiritual topics you want to ask me about, any spirituality based questions, you can ask about that. You can ask me about your intuition, or what you would like to know about intuition and using your psychic ability or mediumship ability. I will not be answering any questions regarding deceased loved ones, because this is not the platform for that. You have to have a one-on-one to have that kind of connection. I mean, I'm sure I could attempt it, but it's just not going to feel like there's no affirmation for that individual that this is that individual, because there's certain things you probably have to clear up in that kind of conversation. But if you have some circumstances in your life you want to ask me about, any specific situations you want to know about, you want me to tune into, feel free to ask me as well, and I'll go ahead and try to give you as much information as I can. So let me go over to these questions here. All right, so, I got the response. Jennifer's, hi, your videos have been so inspiring. Thank you. I'm glad. I hope so. I really hope that my videos help people. I really want them to help people. It's the whole point. I think, I went through a period where I was trying to do a vlog where it was just, in the life of Ferny, a psychic, and then I've kind of gotten away from that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start to just focus more on teaching and sharing information with people, because that's what they want, right? They want to know more about that. So that's what I'm trying to put more into, is more of that information and the stuff that I've learned about over the years, and give you kind of a shortcut for that stuff. So, let's see. I've got a question from Betty. Betty's question, actually, let me make this a little smaller here. Okay, there we go. So Betty's question is, can you possibly tell me if I'm going to get the house I'm trying to? So here's what's interesting, Betty. I am actually seeing 3 properties, or 3 houses. Now, the one that you're referring to, which I don't know which one you're referring to, but I'm seeing 3 properties and 3 houses. The one that you're referring to, I do see a slow process with this, and I feel like they got to go back and forth between the bank and the lender, because I think there's some paperwork that's either not done correctly, or they're not communicating well with each other. I think there are 2 other properties, or 2 other options that are going to come up for you. I almost feel like they might try to lowball you on either on the financing, or they may be there may be some changes last minute with the financing part of it. But I'm kind of getting I'm going to say a yes because I'm kind of getting a yes as far as like still being able to work through it. And I'm actually seeing my situation. So when I decided to buy a house, in the beginning, of course, you form a relationship with the lender, and then you have to get the house financed, right? And you have to get your loan for a certain amount. And they made some mistakes on the paperwork, and then what should have been a two hour like closing process at the place where we sign all the documents turned into a 6 hour process because they had to go back to the lender or to the lender and try to get like all the document redone like within a matter of hours, which is what actually had taken weeks to get done in the first place. So it was like this big old crazy mess. But I ended up leaving with the house keys, and the people who sold me the house were amazing. And they said, "Here you go. This is your house. You waited enough, and we're sure this is your house." So I was like, "Hey, yay!" So, but no, I'm seeing something similar. I feel like there may be some they may have to go back and forth with each other, but I'm kind of getting a yes. So I feel like you might get the house. But what's weird is you might have to get more money, or you might have to take money from another place to compensate because of the loan that they're maybe wanting to only do versus the loan that you're needing to get. So there may be a little bit of a change that needs to happen there in order for that to happen. But I am seeing 3 properties total. So there may be either 2 others that you looked at or that you tried to get, or there may be 2 others that come up for you during this process while you're trying to get all this done. It's just going to be a little complicated. And you might have to revisit this one just to get it. So it's going to be not the easiest process, in my opinion. Okay. Let's see. I've got another one here. Carmen says hi. Hi, Fernando. Hi, Carmen. How are you doing? Let's see. I've got Cecilia here. Hello, everyone. And many blessings. Many blessings. Shibi Shaw. Love Sylvia. I love Sylvia too. I got a story about Sylvia. Okay. So I actually have Sylvia Brown's ashtray. Okay. So I just happen to be, I happen to know her granddaughter, and so I've kind of communicated and kept in touch with her granddaughter over the years. And so her granddaughter, you'll probably hear about her in the near future. I'm sure she's going to go off and become a really well-known model and all that. She's a beautiful girl. But they were having an estate sale for Sylvia's stuff because, I mean, let's get real. Sylvia was kind of a pack rat. She tends to collect everything and anything. And even though people have, like I said, different opinions about Sylvia and what, whether she was a real psychic or not, I mean, her spiritual books, the spiritual teachings that she had were amazing, regardless of who she was as a person. Which to me, she was a human being who overdid it, she overworked herself, and she just couldn't keep up with all of that. And so she just started to run into some challenges there. Not only that, but she made some mistakes that some of us as psychics and mediums over time will learn that we maybe shouldn't do, and I think there were some mistakes there that she made that she had to pay the price for, and it costed her her career. But I mean, I thought she was an amazing spiritual teacher and all of that. Now, that aside, regardless of whatever you think, and yeah, sometimes her predictions were bonk and she didn't make it. She didn't, say what she needed to say. Or predicted correctly, but I mean, I have predictions I've made that didn't come true, but it's more about trying to stay consistent. And I think that, like I said, when she got older, she just overdid it and she overworked herself. She worked her ass off, honestly. But I think that when she got older, she couldn't keep up with everything. And then it just became this like burnout period for her. And I think that's where she went into some trouble. But, my feeling, so it's back to the story. So her family was having an estate sale, and I just happened to have a connection to her granddaughter. And so she was selling her ashtray, and I was like, oh my God, I want the ashtray. Because not a lot of people know that Sylvia Brown was a heavy smoker. I knew she was a heavy smoker because you can hear it from the sound of her voice. But she was a heavy smoker. She could be a chain smoker. So they had her crystal ashtray. It's a beautiful ashtray. And so what's funny about that is, I think it's symbolic because people, when people are out on stage or they're out on, the public spotlight, they act like a certain way sometimes. And then behind the scenes, they're more authentic and they're just themselves. And so for me, the ashtray represents the authentic Sylvia, not the Sylvia that was out there in public and people, for me, I like the ashtray because it represents that authentic Sylvia behind the scenes where she's just a chain smoker and she's just trying to do her job or trying to do a job as a psychic medium. But anyways, very interesting story about her. And I actually, I won't go into more detail because I have more stories about that, but I'm going to respect the family's privacy. Okay, so let me get to another question because you don't want to hear my stories about Sevilla. So Okay, I've got one from Jennifer. My family has been struggling financially the last couple of years. Do you see that changing for the better in our near future? Yes. You do see a bump around March. I'm pretty sure that's probably from taxes. So taxes are going to give you a little bit of a boost. But then there's an additional bump right after taxes, which is April, May. So around that April, May juncture, there's an additional bump or boost financially for you. I almost want to say it might be a little extra money that comes from somewhere that you may not have expected or anticipated. Meaning that you got money that you get from revenue from money that you earn through the process. But then I feel like there's an additional source of income that's going to come in around right after the tax time, and I feel like that's going to give you guys a little bit of leeway or boost. Here's what I will say. You guys need to pay attention to your finances because I think that there's more money going out than it's coming in. And some of it is not, accidental. It's like intentional. You might be not paying attention to your finances as much as you need to, or you're not getting on each other about your finances as often. So it might be, cause for concern there. Regardless, I do see your financial situation improving a little bit during mid-year, but then after the mid-year point, right, when we start to get back into fall, I start to see a slump again. But I really think that has more to do with spending habits. I think money is still going to roll in, but not, there won't be that bump. But it's just about the spending habits. And I think that will help you tremendously just to balance things out a little bit until you see an overall improvement early 2019. So it's a little bit of a period for you guys, but I feel like just, you got to work with managing your finances a little bit more, a little bit better. Okay. All right, Jennifer. So let me go over to, oh, look, this is my beautiful Lisa. Hey, miss you, Ferny. Come back out to the jail sometime soon. You need an overnighter. I think that was a plan. And, Ingrid and I, we had started, like, we really wanted to do more. If you guys don't know what the hell I'm talking about, right? I, myself, and Ingrid, my friend who's also a psychic and medium and Reiki teacher, we both went to a jail and we walked in the haunted jail and at night, and we were, did a video. And I actually have a video of that whole thing on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook. So you guys can go and check it out, the edited version, because, it was really long. I cut it down to like 15, 20 minutes. But go check it out because it's really entertaining and it's really fun. And it's just us being goofy, but also being there and trying to sense and pick up on whatever we're going to sense. But it was a lot of fun. I had a blast. And Lisa is someone who I connected with years ago because she used to be part of the Houston Paranormal group. And I actually I connected with that group when I went to a Chip Coffee event. Chip Coffee is, he's been on several series and he's a well-known psychic as well. But I met up with the group, and then through the group, I actually met Lisa. And so we became really good friends, and she used to come for Reiki on a regular basis. But we went out to the jail, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, so the plan was for us, myself and Ingrid, to get together and do a lot more of these like haunted location things and have some fun. But it's just, it's not been a priority for us. And not only that, but I'm trying to get all the stuff here done at the house with the repairs and all that stuff. And then it's been a lot going on. So I probably might not happen as often as we'd like. I'm sure we'll make an attempt to do another one in the near future, maybe in the next 2 months or so. But it's really going to come down to like whether we can make time and then travel, because a lot of these great places to travel to are out of Houston, so it's a bit of a travel. It's a bit of a stretch for us. But nonetheless, if you guys have ever heard of a haunted place here in Houston, like not just the ones that you can go online and Google, but like if you know of someone's house who, if they want to be investigated or if they want some psychics to come in there and try to see if we can clarify or maybe help to clear out the issue, then go ahead and send me an email through my website at FernyAssistant1@gmail.com. Send my assistant Roxy an email, and then she'll send that to me, and then maybe we can do an investigation. So, all right. So let me go over to. Let's see. Okay, so. Okay, so here's Yvette. Yvette, I feel like there's a dark cloud over my workplace. Is it just me, or is something really going on? I think it's a couple of things. I do think that part of it is you, but I think that you let things get to you really easily. Not only that, but sometimes when we get nosy, when we want to know what's going on, or we're like involved with other people's stuff, it seeps into our energy. So I think part of it is you. I'm not saying it's all you. It's part of it is you, but I do think that there's some stuff happening in your workplace where there's a few people who are either not connecting properly with each other, or there are some changes that are not being communicated properly, so that's creating a lot of misunderstanding. Honestly, I feel like this is all of this negativity is just a lack of communication, proper communication in your workplace. People just don't know how to talk to each other. And because they don't know how to talk to each other, because we all have this impression that we all learned proper communication skills growing up, and not a lot of parents taught their kids how to properly communicate, right? So I think there's just a lack of proper communication, and because of that, there's a lot of misunderstandings, and people are just not really vibing well with each other. What you can do is just focus on your own energy, focus on you and what you can do to create a better environment just for yourself, even if it's just your little cubicle or your little spot or whatever it is. Just do whatever you can, whether it's putting up some happy pictures or doing a meditation midday so that you can kind of shower and clear. Imagine a bubble of light around your little space and anything negative is going to bounce off. You would be surprised that people actually start to stay further away from you, or people don't interact with you as often, so you can kind of avoid some of that negative interaction and so forth. I would say go as far as smudging your entire office space, because that always seems to help. I was back when I was a store manager, I used to smudge the store at night just because there was so much traffic that would go through Starbucks, and the energy needed to be clear out, and then I'd open the windows and doors and then clear all that out and clean the hell out of the store. But that's what I could do, right? Because nobody was there. But if you probably try to do that, you might set the fire alarms off, or you might get in trouble and probably get fired. So don't do that unless you have permission to do it. But I mean, really, it's just like create a space that's just for you and only you, so that you can at least have a little bit of a sanctuary or a bubble there as a barrier between you and other people. Okay. Let's see. I've got Tiffany here. Tiffany, when will I get married and to whom? If you don't know his name, do I know him from my past or not? Looks, girl, you're so funny. Okay, so when will I get married and to whom? So I'm just going to kind of give you a description. First of all, I see you getting married in about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years or so. I think that you are going to you're going to run into that person early next year. I think this person's already been in your life, so I do feel there's a sense of familiarity. You probably would already know this person. Either they weren't completely available, or they were not in the right place when you knew them the first time around. This next time around, I think there's a little bit of a better connection. I also feel that I have a weird shaped head. The skull. It's kind of a weird shaped skull. I won't say it's weird because I'm seeing the indentions in the skull, so I'm seeing that, and I think that's where I'm getting this from. But it's just kind of a weird shape to the skull. I also feel like they've got a very flat, wide nose. I also feel that their eyes are kind of a hazel brown, so it's kind of on that level there as well. They have beautiful lips, so I think that that's something that you'll recognize is the lips, because I think they're very full, beautiful lips. I also feel that they it's interesting because if you looked at a picture of them when they were younger and then a picture of them when they were older, they were actually way more attractive when they were younger. And then as they've gotten older, they're still attractive, but just not as much. But there's just a recognition. There's just like big difference there. Big difference. I think they're a little more on the huskier side now than they were before. Before, they think they take a lot more care of themselves, so they were more like picky about stuff. I also feel that they either played in sports or they did something in basketball. So I feel like they may have played basketball or done something with basketball. I also feel that they may have already been married before. So that's another thing that might help you determine who this is. Their name, the closest letter that is going to get me to their name would be like SH or CH, like Shia or Shea, or SH or CH kind of sounding name. It could be Charles, and I'm totally messing this up, or Charlie, but it's got that sh sounding to it. Now, I could be wrong, and it could be that last name is like that, but it's got that sounding to it. So look out for that. That might be able to help you recognize this person. Okay, so let's see. I got one from Suzy here. Suzy. My husband's former employer is now hiring to fill positions again. He's applied for any openings they may have. Does it look promising? Yes and no. I actually think that he's going to get offered or have an opportunity to do 2 different positions. And I think that it is going to depend. It's interesting because I almost feel like they're going to want to go completely off of, what is that? I think they're gonna, the longer he would have been with the company, the worse off it would be, in my opinion. But I feel like I have two separate opportunities or two separate options for opportunities within the organization or company. I almost feel as if the one that's the better one is going to get swooped up pretty fast. So he might miss out on that opportunity, and they might not even tell him that he's missed out on that opportunity. They may just assume. That's what I'm seeing. They may assume that he's going to go for the other opportunity. So there's a little bit of a mix-up. So when he applies, it's almost as if they're going to think he's going for one, and he thinks that he's going for the other, and so there's kind of a confusion there. But I see two separate opportunities that may come up there with the positions or with the company. Okay, let me answer one more question, guys. Let's see. House I'm trying to get into. Professional. I can question down this year. Also, I don't know what's next. Please give me some guidance. Okay, so let's do this one. Unfortunately, okay, here we go. So, hi, Janet. Unfortunately, the dreams I had about my professional life came crashing down earlier this year. I lost it all, and I don't know what's next in my life. I had it all planned, and now I don't have any direction. Please give me some guidance. Okay, so what's interesting is I almost feel like you might actually have some experience that is going to give you. I'm going to move this up because this is like huge. Okay. I think that you have some experience, whether it's like educational experience or work experience, that essentially is going to be really useful for you, because it almost feels like educational experience. Like there's an educational system where if you only like did one more thing, you could complete that educational increment or that necessary credential, and then you'd be able to like do something more or open up the door for you. So I almost feel like you might actually go back and get some credential. It doesn't mean you're going to go back and get a degree or anything like that, but I almost feel like you're just going to like do something that's going to give you that the completion to your credential. That way you can open up, there be more open options to other work opportunities or work situations that you might be more aligned with. To answer your question, like what's going to happen next? Well, that is your question. But I mean, to tell you what's going to happen next as far as work is concerned, I actually see you having an opportunity through either a university or an educational organization. It may even be the administrative aspect of it, but I feel this is going to come up for you around. This is going to come up around April. So I feel like by April, you should probably know what this is. It's interesting because you might start to go into this, and then around September or October, you change positions or you go into another option that comes your way at that time. So you might actually change jobs or have two separate jobs this year. One that comes up in April that, well, you know about in April, and then there's something else that comes up around that September, October timeframe. But I think you're going to do something that's going to add on to your credential, so that way you can actually open up some doors to yourself as far as the direction. But educational organization, whether it's the administrative part of it or a school or something like that, because I keep seeing a university campus. So there's something there that you might end up having an opportunity to do. Okay. All right, guys. I love you. Thank you so much for participating in Ferny. Ask Ferny. If you guys would like to share this video, go ahead and do so. If you would like to see more videos like this, or if you want to ask about a topic that you want me to cover on my next video or my next Ask Ferny, go ahead and just type it in the section below. Type it in the comments, and then I'll check it out, and then we can use it for another Ask Ferny. All right, guys. I love you, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.